tutorial on landscape painting. I just finished up a video talking about my palette and my tools, so if you're interested in that, feel free to look back. That's going to be number 42, I believe. And after doing all that talking, I'm itching to paint. So I have an 11 by 14, 15 quarter sheet of Stonehenge Aqua. And I am taking my medium hake brush and I'm soaking it with water. While it soaks, the palette's going to get prepared. I had just done a little cleaning of my palette, and now it does feel a little bit awkward. So I'm just using the spray brush to loosen up some of the paints. Figure today I'm on vacation, so I'll get a few paintings and tutorials done. I'm trying not to bombard you all with new paintings and videos. I don't know if I should set them to be public on every few days or what. But somebody was saying that they were binge watching the paintings, videos, which was great. So if you all keep watching, I'll keep painting. Now, I think we'll do something a little Turner-esque, and I'll go light with it. We'll see what happens. I'm just taking some of my raw sienna, and we'll start off with that. And I find I like to put it in nice and light. Grab a little bit of alizarin. And as you can see, my paper is buckling, so just use the end of the brush, lift up the clip, flatten it down. Let's gradiate a little bit of blue. Pinch this side as well. And then we should be good. We shouldn't have to stretch too much after that. I try to avoid using my my hands, my fingers, due to potential oils and fingerprints. But that's enough in the corner where it'll be covered by a mat. It's just a nice light sky. We'll have to come up with a plan for the foreground. That's going to be the interesting part. Most likely I'll do a Turner-esque or a Claude the Rain type tree, and we'll see from there. So everything is in there nice and light. It's going to dry, light and airy. Let's see. So far we used raw sienna, alizarin, and the ultramarine. Let's add a little bit of Venetian red with a little bit of our ultramarine. Get a kind of purple. Feed a little bit, let it disperse up. Not my normal technique, but we'll let the paint and water decide where it wants to go with this one. Foreground, I haven't even decided if we're what we're gonna do with it. Let's grab a little bit of that raw sienna again. What I should have done was as above, so below type thing, and put a little bit of that raw sienna, a little bit of that alizarin, but let it disperse. Get a little bit of ultramarine. Raw sienna with ultramarine and a little bit more higher concentration. Making this kind of water. Let's get a little bit of burnt sienna into that mix. Now, kind of have it as like a water inlet, and I'll build up this foreground. This is ultramarine burnt sienna. And sometimes in videos, I'll talk more about what I'm trying to achieve as opposed to what I'm utilizing. So if you ever have any questions about what I used or about why I'm doing something, if I'm not addressing that in the moment, let me know and I'll try to take care of that. I think it would be fun to take a towel. This is still wet, so I'm going to lift this right here as the sun. See if there's any more flattening that I can get to take place. So this is very loose, airy, atmospheric painting. Some people, and you could just, I guess, let it dry like this and have a very Turner type sunset and just have fun with it and just leave it at that. You put it on the wall, it'd look very pretty, I think. But I have a hard time not putting a tree in or something like that, so let's just build this a little bit more and then I'll figure out what we're going to do tree wise. In the last video I talked about the granulation of ultramarine, and you can see that happening here down in this area, which is a really cool effect that it has. Now we're gonna have to do a dry off in a moment, but before we do that, and it's so wet that you have to be careful with your dry off, you could either let it sit or use a blow dryer. I use a blow dryer. I am going to put a I could put in some trees back in here. And if I do that, I kind of want to stay in the wet and wet and let them diffuse. So let's do a little bit. So I'm just taking the rigger with a little bit. I can't just do a wet with no pigment here, or it'll start doing the whole weird cauliflower thing. Just put them in light and airy. And then tree wise, we're probably going to dry and put the tree in this fashion. I think that's what will happen. All right, so let's dry this. I'll probably dry it not completely. Let's see where things go. When it is wet, and it is this wet, let's get it flattened right there. Whoa. I find that holding the brush blow dryer up high helps it out. So if you have headphones on, be careful. Okay, the paper is still wet, and I can tell that two ways. First of all, there's a sheen if I look on an angle, and second, if I was to put my hand on the back of the paper, back of my hand on the paper, I could feel that. However, I don't want to do that. But I decided to leave it with a little bit of moisture while I put this in, and this is going to be ultramarine and burnt umber. Mainly because we're going to get such a stark contrast to begin with, the softening of the wet and wet. For this, I figured it'd be maybe beneficial to have a semi-softened tree instead of a very stark tree in front. And I'm going to dry the hake off and put it in. It's still going to diffuse with that wet and wet. Also, just using a softer mixture of those two is helping this out. And I have two options later on. Dry it off some more and then get a little bit more defined over some of those softened areas that I like to hear, or I can leave it like that. And that's where painting a whole bunch comes into play, where you can decide and experiment with it. I could leave this painting like this, or I can do it like that, or I can do it on the next one, or having a video, take a picture, and then try it out and compare the differences between the two. Ultimately, the goal is to give you all inspiration and stuff to try out and paint. It's much like when I was younger, you know, younger people skateboard and all that, and we skateboarded, and we'd watch a skateboard video beforehand to get us all excited and then go skateboard. I still watch skateboard videos, but I don't skate anymore. I'm a 225-pound power lifter. I'd probably break a skateboard if I stood on it. And not to sound old, because I'm not that old. I think you'd hit a point where you're just like, you know what, I just don't want to jump anymore in my life. I jump with some exercises like what's called hang cleans and whatnot, but I really have no desire to jump. Okay, this is just ultramarine mixed with my two burns, my burnt umber, burnt sienna. Kind of feed it into some of this wet areas, get some variation in it. Lets me do some crisp and some soft, and that'll give a back and forth effect. Now, you want to be careful, and this is something that I always think about, is that trees are three-dimensional objects, but they get tended to be painted as two-dimensional or poster board-like. So I always try to think of ways to make trees, see like how these diffused. I try to think of ways for trees to that are closer, you have that effect, and a softening and the hardening may help. Fitting in the dark. Now, I think I want to do a little bit of lifting in here. We might come back to the tree, I'm not sure. I am completely out of clean paper towels. Okay, with lifting, so this is good, a little experiment with that. I have my sun right there. I can just wet a spot with clean water and then dab, and that'll slowly start lifting that up. This is where I think you have to be careful with the pigments. For example, a phthalo blue, I believe, is a staining. And I think the phthalo green, and those become hard to lift. But we didn't use any of those. I think some people will take a coarse oil brush and use it to scrub out areas. I have one over here for that purpose, but I've never really experimented with that, and I don't think it would achieve the effect that I want in this location. Just want a lightening of it from that sun. Now another way to have lightened this up is to make the areas around it darker. So sometimes it's not an issue with the lightness, it's an issue with the surrounding values. Let me pull this up a little bit right here. Stephen Cronin has a great example of a sailboat, and he shows using the rigger how to lift out the white sail. So eventually I need to start linking all these other people in the comments so that you can explore the other painters that are available on YouTube. But chances are you probably know about them because they're more prolific than me. Anyway, I'm going to tickle this a little bit more. I'll say my spiel now. Like, I have a whole bunch of links down below, so feel free to check them out. I made a Patreon account if you're interested in that. I have an Etsy page where I have most of my paintings up for sale. Instagram, my painting Facebook page, a whole bunch of stuff. So, you know, feel free to like, share, subscribe. Feel free to try these paintings. Feel free to share your results. You're welcome to message me and show me what you did. Some of the Facebook pages that I'm really involved in are the Ron Ranson Disciples page, which utilizes the minimal palette and the Hake brush and Fast and Loose. And it's just a really good group of people. We have really experienced painters. We have really new painters. And everybody's really helpful and really positive. And I encourage you, you know, check out a group like that and share what you do. There's no, you know, you share your art, you'll receive, you know, a lot of positive feedback and support. And if you have any, you know, questions or want to be critiqued, you know, feel free to mention that as well, and people can offer their insight. So let's do this dry off. We'll sit back and look at it. Oh, I have somebody in the chats again. Awesome. Hey, how's it going? Let's go animate. Oh, thank you for the compliment. Yeah, I focus a lot on wet and wet with the shading, and you want to get used to putting in the wet and wet and how it's going to do a value shift, and that'll give you those effects if that's the shading that I think you're referring to. Okay, so we should be pretty dry. I believe I'm going to leave this one at this, just for that really atmospheric feel. If you were to follow along, which you're, like I said, you're welcome to. I'll post these on YouTube. you could put more darks and lights within this tree. You could experiment with different compositional aspects, having one on this side and make it more of a tunnel view. Just this is just a very traditional L shape that would take place in the paintings in the 1800s. And you could add a fisherman, you could add somebody fishing and whatnot. In fact, should we add somebody fishing? Not today. All right, I'll have some more paintings going on today, and I'll make some more videos. So once again, I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to check out all the links. Let's see how this looks underneath a mat. Find that, look at your painting underneath the mat, and if you ever have a painting that you don't like, you can take a smaller mat and put it over a different area and see what you like about it. And a common thing people do with their paintings that they don't enjoy anymore, or they didn't enjoy the results, they can cut it out and use that as a postcard. So that's a little extra tip for y'all. So I'm going to end the stream. I hope you all enjoyed. Have a great day.